A cold wind drifts across an empty trading floor. Lights flicker, screens glow with numbers no one is watching. And somewhere in that ocean of red and green, a single forgotten ticker flashes under $1. Almost invisible, almost meaningless. Yet if history has taught us anything, it's that some of the biggest financial earthquakes begin with a whisper, a rumor, a name barely anyone knows. This is the story of a penny stock. The world ignored, a company overlooked, underestimated, and buried under the weight of larger giants. A stock that, according to the whispers of analysts and the patterns hidden in financial history, may be preparing for something extraordinary in 2026. Not because of hype, not because of luck, but because of a pattern that once changed the world. Starting all the way back with the very first bank. No one knew how powerful that first bank would become. It began as a simple idea, a vault for safety, a ledger for tracking, but soon it was much more. A machine that fueled nations, funded wars, and shaped economies. People who understood banks understood power, and people who understood power knew exactly where the world was heading. The early bankers noticed something strange. Growth didn't always begin with the giants. Sometimes it began with the smallest seeds, the institutions no one cared about until it was too late. Tiny entities during financial revolutions that suddenly exploded into relevance. Centuries passed. Markets evolved. From gold to paper, from paper to digital, from digital to algorithmic. But the same law remained. The next big shift always starts small. Fast forward to 2025. The global economy stands on the edge of a new transformation. Robotics, AI, microfinance, resource recycling, and hidden somewhere inside that storm is a company traders barely bothered to scroll past. A company whose stock price kept dipping under $1, sometimes even flirting with delisting. A company the world assumed was dying. But it wasn't dying. It was changing. Imagine a company once stuck in an outdated industry, ignored, forgotten, irrelevant. Its revenue was falling, its technology outdated, and its leadership constantly under pressure. Investors left. Analysts downgraded it. The stock fell and fell until it hit that psychological wall. $1. A price considered junk. A price considered dangerous. A price considered dead. But buried inside the company's financial filings, something shifted. They brought in a new CEO, someone who had once revived a collapsing tech manufacturer during the 2012 crisis. Someone known for turning dust into gold. Someone who understood that in markets, perception changes everything. This new leader didn't just cut costs. They started selling off the old, dying parts of the business. The assets that were weighing them down. The factories that were relics of a bygone era. They took that cash and, instead of paying dividends, they did something radical. They started acquiring small, unknown startups in a completely different field. Tiny companies working on bleeding-edge tech that nobody else understood yet. One in robotics, another in advanced materials. A third in a specialized niche of AI software. To the outside world, it looked like chaos. Like a desperate, last-ditch effort. The stock price stayed low. The mainstream analysts just shook their heads. They called it a Frankenstein company, stitched together from unrelated parts with no clear vision. But what they missed was the silent pattern. The new CEO wasn't just buying companies. They were building an ecosystem. The robotics company needed the advanced materials. The AI software was designed to run the robots. It wasn't a collection of parts. It was a single, integrated machine being built in plain sight, but disguised as junk. While the world was looking at the stock price, they were missing the quiet revolution happening inside. Then, the final piece fell into place. A massive government contract was announced for a new infrastructure project, something related to sustainable energy and automation. Every major corporation bid for it, but the requirements were so specific, so cutting edge, that no single giant had all the necessary technology in-house. They would need to form partnerships, acquire smaller firms, and spend years integrating them. But one company didn't need to. One company already had everything perfectly integrated, ready to go. The same company whose stock was trading for pennies. The company everyone had written off. Suddenly, the puzzle pieces snapped together. The Frankenstein company was revealed to be a lean, futuristic powerhouse perfectly positioned for the next economic wave. By 2026, the whispers could become a roar. The stock that was once a symbol of failure could become a legend. This story isn't just about one company. It's about a recurring pattern in the history of innovation. The greatest opportunities are often hidden when no one is looking. They're found in the companies that have been beaten down, forgotten, and forced to reinvent themselves out of sheer necessity. So the next time you see a stock trading for under $1, don't just see the risk, look deeper. Look for the signs of a quiet transformation. Have you ever heard a story so crazy it just might be true? It's about a company that made a silent move, no big announcements, no flashy presentations. It just quietly stepped away from its old life and into a new one. A sector that experts say is set to explode in the next decade, one that will redefine mining, energy, and manufacturing. I'm talking about rare earth recycling. Now, this isn't about digging up the ground. It's about pulling incredibly valuable metals like neodymium, dysprosium, and terbium straight out of our electronic junk. These are the metals that make EV motors spin, that power our robots, AI hardware, and even satellites. By 2026, the world's hunger for these metals is expected to be massive. But here is the catch. Only a tiny handful of companies on the entire planet have the tech to recycle them at scale, and even fewer can do it without going broke. This is where our story gets interesting. A small, forgotten penny stock quietly got its hands on some patents from a bankrupt European lab. Nobody paid any attention. But these weren't just any patents. They detailed the process that could extract these crucial metals using 40% less energy and creating 60% less waste. While most traders were chasing the latest hot trend, they completely missed this news. It wasn't exciting. Not yet. But someone was watching. Large institutional funds, the kind that usually ignore penny stocks, started buying up shares. Not in big, obvious chunks that would set off alarms. They were subtle, accumulating shares slowly, day after day, in patterns only a trained eye could spot. It was clear someone with very deep pockets was getting ready for something big. The rumor mill started churning, first on obscure online forums, then in private financial circles. Algorithmic traders, always sniffing for anomalies, noticed the strange behavior. Was a merger on the horizon? A government contract? A new patent breakthrough? The truth was a well-kept secret, but the quiet accumulation continued. Then, the plot twist no one saw coming. In late 2025, a global shortage hit the rare earth supply chain. Mines in several countries cut back production due to new environmental rules. Major EV makers started to scramble. Robotics companies panicked. AI hardware producers issued stark warnings. The price of rare earth metals went through the roof. Suddenly, governments were desperate for alternatives, sustainable, domestic, and reliable ones. Recycling wasn't just a cool idea anymore. It was essential. It was the missing piece of a huge global puzzle. And while all this was happening, deep inside a warehouse in a quiet industrial town, a forgotten penny stock company was firing up its brand new extraction machines for the very first time. Machines built using those patents nobody cared about. Machines that could literally turn scrap metal into gold. Of course, history shows us that every big rise comes with pressure. And the pressure came fast. Short sellers bet against the stock, convinced the tiny company couldn't possibly scale up. Critics in the media mocked the idea that a small-time recycler could solve a massive global crisis. Big competitors just dismissed them as a non-threat. But behind the scenes, things were moving. The company had already applied for government grants, started negotiations with 2 major EV manufacturers, and expanded its facility. It had even locked in long-term deals to get scrap from electronics distributors. Every attack just added to the mystery. Every price dip was a buying opportunity for contrarians. Every short position was like a spark waiting to ignite a fire. By early 2026, the whispers had grown into full-blown expectations. This is the moment the market's mood shifted from ignorance to intense curiosity. Right now, everyone's watching the giants Tesla, BYD, Nvidia, but revolutions don't always start with giants. Sometimes they start with the survivors, the underdogs, the ones hungry enough to defy gravity. The first bank wasn't just a vault. It changed the world. This penny stock is becoming more than just a symbol on a screen. It's a case study, a pattern we've seen throughout history. Great financial shifts often start small. Great companies often start unnoticed. And the greatest opportunities are often hidden in plain sight. Maybe 2026 will be the year this forgotten stock finally steps into the spotlight. Not because of hype, but because the world finally needs what it has. The future isn't just built by what's already big. It's built by what's finally ready. A company once worth pennies is preparing to solve a trillion-dollar problem. A ticker symbol once ignored is now aligned with the next economic revolution. A stock under $1 might not stay there for long. Whether it skyrockets or not, the story is already unfolding. Sometimes the smallest number on the screen holds the biggest secret. And sometimes that secret makes history. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to follow for more stories like this.